All right, here we are. We are live. It's your old pal Emac. It's the battle of the Erics, the two Erics here. Both of our teams suffered some misfortune. Your team, the Bears, lost in London. My team, the University of Washington Huskies, disappointed last night against Stanford. I tried to stay up for it, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. It didn't start till 10:30, and it doesn't start till 10:30 next week. But I'm going to try to watch that one. It's no fun when they're losing, Eric. It's no fun.
No, it is no fun, and rough day today for my beloved Chicago Bears. I think Gruden and company learned a valuable lesson traveling to London last year, and when to bring the team and when to get them rest and those sorts of things. And I think it paid off. I'm just trying to make excuses. It was a rough day today.
It happens. It
Yeah,
happens sometimes. But there we are. At least you're not the Cowboys.
yeah. Well, yeah, you would say that, but as the Cowboys game is still in its fourth quarter, it looks like it's not ending anytime soon. Amari Cooper with a big play and long touchdown. So they're bringing it within. It's going to be within 10 points right now. So who knows? 7:45 to play.
Yeah, it's
See
going
what
to be an interesting one here. We've got all sorts of good stuff. We've got a fun game tonight. Let's start off with first by thanking Fantasydraft for sponsoring our show. If you guys have not checked that out, definitely go on over there. The only rake-free DFS site. Now, how are they rake-free? Well, you do a little subscription. If you spend, I think it's $5.99, gets you $1,000 of play for the month. When you go to make a deposit, you're going to get mad. You're going to say, why are you charging me 3% to make a deposit? The other sites don't charge me 3%, but that's okay because if I put in my $200, they charged me, it was like $650, and then I paid my 1 month subscription, so I've spent $12, but I have saved $45 now as compared to regular rig that I would be paying on Fanduel and Draftkings because they have a handy little counter that shows you there. So which is better? Not having to pay a 3% deposit fee and spending $45, or having to pay a little deposit fee and a little subscription fee and spending $12. Definitely the $12 is better. So check them out, Fantasydraft. If you use the promo code OSMO, you get 1 week of free to play up to $1,000. Everybody also has the ability to play $100 a month. So if you're just a nickel and dimer, they do have nickel and dime contests. I'm slightly exaggerating. They have quarter contests there. You can get in with that. All right, Eric, hitting the actives, inactives. We've got the Chiefs at home, Arrowhead Stadium. Tough place to play. They are favored by 11 last I looked. We know that Damian Williams will be returning. He is arguably a better pass catcher than Slim Shady, the real McCoy, if you will. It took me forever to understand why they called him Slim Shady. I never made that reference of the real McCoy, Slim Shady, LaShawn McCoy. I never got there. I have no idea why I'm bringing that up. But anyway, that was one of those nicknames I missed on until a few years ago. You've got, so that's now a crowded backfield.
Yep.
Thompson is inactive tonight. On the other side, we've got Hilton back as well as Marlon Mack. And Marlon Mack's been dealing with an ankle injury. Hilton missed last week. He has they both missed last week. Hilton has a quad issue, but apparently they're both going to play. And then the other one that was weird was Sammy Watkins dealing with the sore shoulder, but then got downgraded to a limited practice hamstring issue on Friday, but he is supposedly a full go at this point. But that's our main news and notes. Let's talk some football, Eric.
Let's dig right in. Exciting game tonight. I'm sure when the schedule makers put this one out there for Sunday Night Football, they expected to have a showdown between two up-and-coming stars, Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes. As we know, that's not going to be the case tonight. Jacoby Brissett, Patrick Mahomes. So let's just dive right into it, shall we?
Absolutely.
Let's lead it off with the team that I think everybody wants to talk about first, the Kansas City Chiefs. Take it away, E-Mac. Where you starting? We know Mahomes is the leader there. How are you feeling about Mahomes after a somewhat, we'll say, step back last week against the Lions? How are you feeling about his prospects for tonight's matchup?
I am trying to find a reason not to have him in every single lineup. Now, hat tip to both sites. They priced him appropriately. It is definitely a decision point. And as I wrote in my article, which is, of course, the companion piece to this show, if you start off with Mahomes on DraftKings in the captain spot, you're paying another 50% on top of it. If you put him and Travis Kelce in your lineups, you're looking at guys like, well, let's just say my main lineup has Mo Alley Cox in it.
There you go. Yes.
I'm hoping for a target, maybe 2 targets for Cox. I'm planning on 0 points, though. But it gets me the other guys that I want. So that's a nice stretch to get you there. Also, if you're going to be using an optimizer, you're going to want to be very careful with it because it's not going to put in Mahomes on nearly as many lineups as you would think because the price per dollar is just not there. But he's the most electric player in this game. He didn't have a touchdown last week. I believe that was the first time I want to say, or he had one other 0 touchdown game since he became the starter last year, not counting playoffs. And then I think every single game he had, other than that other one that he had at 0, he had multiple touchdowns, 2, 3, or 4, which makes sense because he set the record last year or he had 50 touchdowns last year, which was absolutely phenomenal. So what are you going to do? He's got a nice matchup here against the Colts. He has a nice matchup against anybody, unless it's a top 3 defense. Yeah. It's really where that's going to land. But the Colts they're not going to be able to stop him. It's not going to happen, and he's at home. The question is, 303 is what we need for him to approach being a good play, and it's going to be tricky because he will throw the ball to anyone. So who do we pair him with? That becomes a little tougher. We know that marching down the list, you've got Sammy Watkins, who is on the field darn near every snap, but a little dinged up, etc. And then you've got Travis Kelce, who's basically a wide receiver 1. Those guys get all of the targets. Well, Kelsey's super duper expensive, and what are you going to go from there? So it's an interesting conundrum here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Slate for tonight, knowing that you're going to have to pay heavy on some of those top tier players, knowing that Kansas City spreads the ball around. So it's really kind of tough to figure out who's going to be that touchdown guy for them week to week. Sammy Watkins early on in the year, I think a lot of people, had big hopes for him. He hasn't quite delivered the last few weeks the way you would have hoped. This is going to be the week that he bounces back. Who knows? They got options there. Like Demarcus Robinson, like McCole Coleman, Mr. Hardman. We'll see. We'll see. It's interesting. You got to kind of pick your poison if you do elect Mahomes or Kelce in that spot. But jumping into that wide receiver positioning, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Mahomes, to your point, Mac, it's almost impossible not to put him in a lineup, not to foresee him being in the winning lineups for tonight. How are you approaching the wide receiver position for tonight for the Kansas City Chiefs?
So, it's going to be McCole Hardman, and I've heard it pronounced Mecole, not Michael, but so I'm going with Mecole Hardman. He is discounted on the site, so that's what gets it for me. My next choice is going to be Robinson. And then my third choice is going to be Watkins. Now, why is that? Well, Watkins is the most expensive. He's a little dinged up. But these are a decent job pricing these guys because he gets most of the targets. Robinson's on the field quite a bit. And then Hardman, the reason I really like him is they have not unleashed him yet. And by unleashed him, I mean, he is very fast. He has decent hands. He's still a rookie, so he's working on the route tree and all of that. But he has the ability to get behind the defense, to quote, take the top off the defense. But that hasn't been something that they've really needed to do this season, and everything's kind of coming in the flow of the game. Now, they lucked out last week, but they just haven't needed him. But he's on the field for 70% of the snaps. Watkins is on the field for 95% of the snaps, and Robinson's kind of in between at 84% of the snaps. With regards to routes run, it's Watkins by a mile. He literally runs a route on almost every play, it feels, or every pass play, shall we say. And then you've got Robinson and Hardman that do a fair amount as well. So that's the trio that you're looking at. But for me, it's in reverse order of pricing. And that's for both sides because I feel all of them have excellent touchdown equity. Now, what that means is because Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback and we're expecting him to throw. I mean, if you set the over under at 2.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, I'd probably take the over. I'd probably take the over in every game he plays if that was the number for the entire season. Sometimes it's not going to work out, but he is just that good of a guy. Who's it going to go to? And that's the tough part. I know who it's not going to. It's not going to the Belldozer, Blake Bell.
No, it's probably not. That's a good point, Mac. And I'm with you. I'd take the over on 2.5 every single game, unless they're probably playing my Chicago Bears. Even then, I'd still probably take it. But it is tough, and I think cost is the big factor when selecting the wide receivers for Kansas City tonight. To your point, you kind of have to balance it. So is it Meek Cole? Is it DeMarcus? Again, Watkins is the most expensive of the three. So keep that in mind as you're putting your lineup together. And thanks again for everyone to watch tonight. If you feel free to throw in questions, comments in the chat there. We'll try to get to them throughout the show when we can. Moving right along to the running back position, I think this is a position that if it's a bell cow situation in Kansas City, we know that they're going to put up points. We know that running back's going to have productivity. Unfortunately, it's far from a bell cow situation. It is every bit of a timeshare. Who do you like from the running back spot for Kansas City tonight, Matt?
So for me, it's actually going to be LaShawn McCoy. And I'm going to get back to my and here I'm going to put this in chat again for those of you that have not realized. Got the little companion piece article. But what I do is in the receiver section, I put down everybody's targets, the plays, the routes run, the percentages, etc. For everybody that's gotten action, and that's something I like to look back on. So the sort of surprising thing sometimes is when you look at these numbers is if you look at McCoy. He's only played on 40% of the snaps. Well, even when Williams was out, he didn't. Week 2 was his most percentage of snaps. It wasn't week 3 and 4 when Williams was out. So the thing that that sort of indicates to me is I don't think he's really overly impacted by Williams being back. I think they both have their own roles, and they're both going to be on the field about 35% of the time, and then you're going to see a little bit of Darrell Williams will be around, but he's definitely the third guy, and they made, as I mentioned at the top, they've made Darwin Thompson inactive tonight. But for me, it's going to be McCoy. Like him better in the high leverage situations. He's one of Andy Reid's guys, and he still has it, and I'm perfectly fine with him only playing a third of the time because it means he's going to be relatively fresh, and I think that's something that's also important in this whole thing. So I'm leaning towards him on both sides tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Emac. And now these two guys haven't been on the field at the same time together, correct?
I didn't go through and look at that, but Kansas City very rarely runs a 2 running back set. So probably not very often.
I'm sorry, I meant to say Damian Williams when they went and got McCoy once he got injured, correct?
So they picked up McCoy at when he was cut by Buffalo right at the end of training camp.
So we don't really know who's going to be getting the goal line carries if it comes down to it.
Correct.
Interesting. I'm wondering if the banged up, Williams, if his injuries play into account when getting to the goal line. Oftentimes we'll see coaches want to get the healthier, less banged up player to ram it in. So maybe that's, we'll see where that lands tonight because we haven't seen these two players on the team at the same time.
Yep, which makes it very, very interesting.
Yes, it does. All right, well, moving right along from the running back spot, do we need to make a pit stop at the tight end position for Kansas City? Do we want to mention anybody besides big number 87?
So here were the two funny things. Was I had not realized how much. Now I've got the Belldozer stuck in his name. I'm blanking on his first name. Bell. What is his first name? Let me see. Blake Bell, former quarterback.
Yep.
In college, he was the belldozer because he would get the ball inside the 7, and basically they just direct snap it to him while he was the quarterback, and then he'd just run for a touchdown. Frustrating because that was back when I was playing college football, and he had a good quarterback that lost out on quite a few touchdowns because of the belldozer. The interesting thing about him is the amount of snaps he's played. So he's played on 40% of the snaps. That's a lot more than I thought. However, he's run 44 routes, and wait for it, he has 3 targets. 1, 2, 3, much like the owl going to the center of the Tootsie Pop there. That is not very much at all. So that's one of those ones you want to look in a little bit. And then you have Dion Yelder, who had 2 targets for 42 yards and 2 catches last week. Those were his first 2 targets of the season. So the answer is no, not really. But we've got to leave no stone unturned here, because we need some of these super duper punt guys, particularly on DraftKings, where we're paying that 50% premium on our captain. And if it's going to be Kelsey or it's going to be Mahomes, as I mentioned, Mo Alley Cox is in my lineup, and that's what I needed to do. So there we are. That's just what it's going to be. Finishing things up when we talk about the defense, I really am not that excited to play the Colts defense, because Mahomes has only been sacked 3 times and he only has 3 interceptions on the year. So now the most you can lose on DraftKings, and this is the only site that has defense on the single game slate, is -4 for points allowed. But you're going to need a couple sacks just to get back to even. So it's really not helping you that much. Now, I said something like this in week 1, and it was Matt Ryan, and I forget who he was playing, or maybe it was week 2 on the show, and like, oh, blah blah blah, they never throw interceptions. I want to say it was Ryan and Rodgers. I don't even know if they've played each other, but they ended up having more interceptions in that game than they had in the prior year.
Wentz and Ryan, I believe, is what it was.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. And it was just it's like, God, with every single one, I'm just like, really? I called out that they don't throw interceptions, yet here they are. So, you never know, and you need a defensive touchdown, but it's hard to see it coming. So, with regards to playing Kansas City, 1, they're at home, and 2, you would think Brissett's going to have to be throwing, which means the chance for an interception and a pick 6. So this week, or this particular matchup, I'm not really a fan of either defense. Some we are, some we aren't. I just don't see enough upside there from them.
Yeah, neither team is really known for their defense. So in that game like tonight, where we expect more points to be scored, what will probably happen? There'll be probably 2 pick 6s, snap trick, and sack strip, and 3 defensive. But who knows, right? It's parody. It's NFL. That's why we tune in. That's why we love it. You mentioned something, Mac. I wanted to go back to you. Putting in people like Mo Alley Cox in your lineup and expecting a goose egg in a night like tonight, where there are some expensive players who are going to gobble up a majority of your salary. Are you okay with someone getting you a 0, getting you a 1? Because you're hoping you're going to make up for it on spending with more expensive players?
We're going to find out tonight. This is the first. Yeah, this is the first time I've really done it. Now, so let me call up my main lineup here, just so I can talk through it. And hey, normally we don't want to give out lineups. This one's crazy enough that go for it. So I wanted to have Kelsey with Mahomes, and that just right there kills you. So I was playing around, and I said, "Oh, put in the kickers. Oh, we'll do this, we'll do that." It didn't work. I couldn't get Kelsey. So I said, I really want Brissett, because I started looking at how discounted he was compared to this matchup, which last year basically the Kansas City defense made everybody look like a slightly pedestrian version of Pat Mahomes. So there you go. It was they were not great. They're a little bit better at this point, and Brissett is a much better quarterback than when we saw him fill in for Andrew Luck last time. He's got a couple more seasons of reps in practice and just maturing and all of that. So I wanted him on the lineup, in the lineup. So all of a sudden, then I said, you know what? I'm going to go with Nyheim Hines as well. Now, Hines only plays 30% of the snaps. So that's not very much. So even if Marlon Mack's there or not there, doesn't matter to me. And then we got news that Mack is going to be playing. That doesn't matter. And odds are they're going to be behind. I haven't seen the passing game work that we were promised this preseason that was going to be happening with Marlon Mack. So I said, you know what, let's just go with Himes. Not as excited about him on FanDuel because it's only half point PPR, but at this point we want people that score touchdowns because this projects out to be a big game. And then I put in Jack Doyle. So you can mess around. If do you want Doyle, do you want Ebron, do you want Pascal, do you want Rogers, do you want somebody else? That's where you start playing around with these guys. I had Butker in there and I forget who my other one was, and then I just said, you know what, I'm going with Mo Alley Cox. I don't care. So there we are. We'll see what happens. And I am playing this one of, let's see if my funds in play. This lineup makes up exactly half of my funds in play tonight.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Don't try it at home, folks. Don't try this one at home.
Well, you got to differentiate yourself sometimes. Who knows? Maybe I think tight end is the one position. If you watch the NFL enough, when teams get down to the goal line, that is the one position where you might see a number 2 tight end, number 3 tight end end up with a 2-yard touchdown reception, right? A play action back of the end zone type thing. So if there's a position that you want to take a risk on for a super buy low, tight end is probably a good position for that. Jumping to the other side of the ball, we spent a lot of time kind of digging into the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's jump to the Indianapolis Colts. There's a lot of options here. We talked about some of the questionable injuries. We know that, again, everybody is playing. T.Y. is playing tonight. Marlon Mack is playing tonight. Starting with Brissett, and when you're putting lineups together tonight, did you have Brissett included in many? Is he someone that we want to target? Is it someone that if maybe the DraftKings you put in a captain spot? How do you feel about Brissett heading into tonight? He's been pretty consistent over the last few weeks.
So I am going to put in Brissett as a captain on about probably 20% of my lineups on my hodgepodge of things that I'm putting into the tournaments here. So I like him. I am just making an obscene stand with Mahomes. And Mahomes right now, between captain and just regular quarterback on DraftKings, I only made one FanDuel lineup to play, and they're both on it, by the way. But Mahomes is on 94% of my lineups, it looks like, either as the captain or as a regular quarterback. And that's what I want. I boosted his projections just a little bit to make sure he would get in there, and then we'll see where we want to go. Now, in 3 of his 4 games, so I put his projection at 30 points. He's passed that in 3 of his 4 games. That doesn't mean he's going to get that tonight. So it's not like I picked a number that was big. I just needed to get him in more lineups because I wanted him in a larger percentage.
Yep.
But yeah, Brissett is your probably, I think, number 3 on the night. I put Kelsey at number 2 just because I think the combination of price, popularity, and potential production, he's going to be on less lineups than Brissett. So I give him the slight nod if we're trying to do apples to apples there across positions, but or across roles. But Brissett is you could easily have him be the number 2 guy in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty consistent. Kansas City's defense isn't blanking anyone, so you do expect the Colts to put up some points tonight. If it's going to be the case, knowing that the running back spot, we don't love the running game tonight, just with the banged up Marlon Mack, would expect points to come through the air for Indianapolis tonight. On that note, I don't know if the folks are watching. Dallas just blew their chance at a comeback, missing a short field goal. They still would have needed an onside kick to pull off the comeback, but unfortunately, the Green Bay Packers look like they're going to advance for a victory, a big road win for them. But jumping back to tonight's game, moving on from Brissett, receivers seems to be an interesting position for Indianapolis. After T.Y., it gets kind of fuzzy. Emat, help us get some clarity on where you're going if you're seeing if you want to play a receiver for Indianapolis after T.Y. Hilton. Who do you think tonight?
I would probably go with tight end. I would go with either Doyle or with Ebron. I think it's too confusing. to try to make a case for any of the three. If
Yep.
pressed, it would be Chester Rogers,
Yep.
but that's not really a super strong endorsement there. Um, that's just my take. I think there's a fair argument for Pascal as well.
Yeah, and it's probably just cost savings, right? If you're throwing someone in there trying to buck the trend, I think a lot of people are probably going to end in the tight end spot for Indianapolis, knowing that both Ebron and Doyle got with a lot of targets and got with a lot of red zone targets at that. Before we get into the tight end spot, I do want to jump to the Indianapolis running back position because it's interesting dynamic for tonight. We have Marlon Mack, who is back. He sat out with like most of the fourth quarter last week, which was an ankle injury. From what I read and what the Colts were saying, he could have come back, but they were in pass mode, so he didn't. Which is something to think about for tonight's matchup. If you would expect the Colts to be behind, will Marlon Mack be in the game come third, fourth quarter where they are in potential catch-up mode? So with him back, you got Hines. How are you approaching the running back position for the Colts? Are you playing Mack in any lineup?
So I ended up with 20% of Marlon Mack. That is it. Shockingly, I only have 2% of Hines. Now remember, half my lineups have him. Of my lineups I've got in the head-to-heads, the 3-mans, and the 5-man. So I've got plenty of him there. These percentages I'm talking about are just for what I'm putting in the tournaments. So for me, push comes to shove, I would prefer Hines, but you're not getting a nice discount because he was priced potentially for Mac to miss this game. So, but for me, Mac has seen just 6 targets on the season. He did not get any in week 1, and then obviously banged up against Oakland. He did not get any last week, but he got 3 in each of the 2 games in between. One of them was against Atlanta, and we know how much Atlanta funnels passes to the running, or allows opposing teams to go to the to the running backs. On the flip side, you've got Hines, who's got last week he had 6, 4, 2, and 1 in reverse order. On the season, though, he has just 11 rushes. So you're hoping they play from behind. You're hoping he's in there, and you're hoping he gets the ball. Okay, if you were going to game this out, what would happen? Probably that. So that's how you can more comfortably create a scenario where you'd rather have him. So for me, that's another one of those spots where I'm just like, all right, all in. This is what I'm just going to do. And very little Marlon Mack overall.
Yeah, I think it's tough to trust Mac with the cost and knowing that they're probably going to be playing from behind. If that's the case, Hines will be the favorite, back for the Colts. Any lineups where you're throwing in Jordan Wilkins, maybe projecting out a Marlon Mack? He could easily re-injure ankle, something else. Any lineups where you're sliding in Wilkins to help you save some dough?
No.
Okay. All right.
Now, to be fair, if Mac was out, I would have bumped Hines up, and then I would be saying Wilkins. I would be talking about him as the guy we want to look to in the Nyheim Hines role. That's not going to be the case tonight. You're really hoping for an in-game injury, and there are enough other options that I'm not going to worry about that one.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, moving right along, we're about 18 or so, 20 minutes till the game time, 18 till block. The tight end position. This is an interesting position for the Colts. We know Ebron last year had the monster year. Was it 13 touchdowns?
13 touchdowns.
Incredible. Jack Doyle seems to be on the field more. It seems to be the preferred blocking tight end. But both players seem to get roughly about the same amount of targets. I think it's Doyle who's just slightly ahead. But how are you approaching the tight end position for the Colts tonight, Emac?
So I give Doyle the edge because he'll be on the field more because he's the better blocker. Though when Ebron is on the field, it's usually passing downs. Not always, but usually. So when it comes down with him, with the two of them, I'm just going to lean towards the guy that's out on the field more. Now, Ebron does already have Does he have 2 or 3 tight ends? I'm blanking now. But he's on pace. Let me see. Yeah, he's got two times. Yeah, doing too many things at once here. He has 2 touchdowns thus far on the season, which would put him on pace for 8. If you were going to mathematically prorate that. The thing you want to look at is his targets: 5, 4, 4, 3.
Yep.
So and that's most recent to the beginning of the season. So he's slightly trending up. Let's just call it. You'll probably see 4 or 5 today. Now, last week when they were in catch-up mode against the Raiders, Doyle got 8 targets. In his other games, he got 4, 3, and 2. I just feel a little bit better about Doyle on both sides.
Yeah, and to your point, they were in catch-up mode last week against the Raiders, who's going to be a hot team right now in football. And if you're projecting that to be the case again this week, where we expect the Chiefs to have a bounce-back week at home, perhaps that's the case again, where the Colts are playing catch-up mode, and maybe it is a game where Doyle does see a high target share because of that. So you like Doyle over Ebron. From a cost perspective, they're pretty equal, pretty even.
Yeah. So even then, I mean, if somebody had a strong feeling one way or the other, I wouldn't fight them over it. My strong feeling is Doyle's the way I want to go, but there's really no difference in their prices, so that wasn't even a decision point. Much like it is with Hardman and the Kansas City receivers, where there's a distinct difference. So.
Yep. Okay, so moving right along beyond the tight end spot, we touched just on defenses briefly. What about the kicker position? Adam Vinatieri, the silver fox as he is right now, he's been a little inconsistent in 2019. We got Butker for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been solid. We know they put up points. Are you playing Vinatieri at all? Are you playing Butker? How are you approaching that position?
Butker would be the guy I would go with. Although it's really I have no interest whatsoever in Vinatieri, and heck of a career, been around for a long time. All yada yada yada, all the good stuff there. But he has been he's got the yips. He's missed 3 extra points. Now, granted, God, they've changed the extra point distance twice in his career because he's playing in, this is like his 24th year or something like that. He played, his first year was like 1996 or 97. Let's put it this way: Jerry Rice was playing when he started his career. So yeah, all the rookies that they draft are younger, or weren't even born when he was playing when he started his career. He's been around a long time. It's been a hell of a run. But I can't get there. Hardman, Butker, I'm fine with on this one.
Yeah, what's the lesson for kids watching at home? Don't play running back. Become a kicker if you're a kid, right?
Now I say that, but from a you know what? I've got time here. I'm gonna have to just redo my lineups because I've got 40% of him. That's way more than I wanted.
Of Butker?
No, of Vinatieri. I've got 50% of Butker. Well, it's because I'm putting in all of the Mahomes, which is causing this.
Yeah, it's really difficult to put in a lineup tonight where you don't have Mahomes in. And I'm thinking back in weeks prior. Last week was New Orleans, Dallas, and it was easy to kind of get behind the Dallas train. But then you could easily have made a case that, hey, you know what, New Orleans could win. Good team, a lot of players to play. This week, it's tough to make a case that Indianapolis is going to win the game. You can see them, sticking around, putting up some points here and there, but it's tough not to put Mahomes, not to put those Kansas City weapons in your lineup tonight. It's trying to figure out where to do it, and if you're in if you're in DraftKings, especially the captain spot, is going to be key. Who you slot there. For me, I'm kind of approaching it as, pick the wideout you think is going to have the biggest game for Kansas City. Who's going to have that big play? It seemed to always have a 60, 70-yard touchdown every game. Last week was the kind of the one outlier for them. So that's my approach tonight. Again, who knows? So you're redoing your lineups now, Emac. So what's your outside of
Well, I
the that you pulled out? Are there anything else that you're thinking about or approaching as we wind down to locks here in a little over 10 minutes?
I'm now changing my mind. So I've downloaded a fresh file here. I just want to see what it would do here, because if you start looking at people that are at the similar price points, um, it doesn't make as much sense to redo things, because theoretically you would like to think that Vinatieri would have 2 field goal attempts and maybe 2 or 3 extra point attempts. Okay, that's a if he makes them, be and giving him yardage and yada yada yada. That's about the equivalent of a touchdown. Of the other guys in that area that I'm looking at, are they going to get more than a touchdown?
Yep.
So that starts to play into it. The answer is probably not. But if they get a touchdown, odds are they're probably getting 20 or 30 more yards. So they should be able to outscore him. But the problem is this: most of them don't have enough. Excuse me, have enough other stats to support that. So I'm mentally going through the exercise of what do I really want to do here. And as I'm talking through this, I think I'm going to be okay with leaving Vinatieri in those, because again, that's 40% of half of my volume in play. So it's really only like 20% of my dollars in play. So it's not as dramatic as I was thinking. And field goals are fickle; they're random. You never know what's going to happen. The guy's been doing it for 24 years. It's hard to say that he's just this is it, but he was ready to quit. Like he basically told the report, like he called one of them aside. Was this 2 weeks ago? And basically, the reporter's like, oh, he's like, hey, I'll see you on Monday, and he's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no you won't. You don't have to report. He goes, no, I'll probably see you Monday, because he was going to resign.
Right.
And he was just like, I can't do this. And so it's really in his head.
Yeah.
What do we do with that? I mean, you can tell yourself a story either way. If he makes them tonight, it's like, oh yeah, he's a veteran, he overcame it. If he misses them, it's like, oh, he's got the yips.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time putting Vinatieri in, and for that exact reason. Kicking, if there's one position where it's mental, it's definitely the kicker's position, right? And he's even missed short ones. To your point, missed extra points, where you should count those as gimmies. So not feeling great about it, and it's unfortunate to see. Yeah, I mean, I remember that story being aired, and I think Colts fans probably figure, well, here's another one after Luck had retired on them mid preseason. They were going to lose their veteran kicker. So glad to see him stick it out. You hate to see someone with a career as honored, as recognized as his, to fall off in a way that mid-season type thing. So rooting for him, not feeling great about him. Yeah, he does seem a bit of the yips going. So Butker's probably the option there. So approaching lineups tonight and kind of taking a step back. Um, we've kind of dug in position by position. So kind of looking at strategies now, Emac, and you're putting together some lineups right now. Is this a night tonight where you're trying to include both quarterbacks in your lineup and maybe saving some other spots? Is that an approach that you feel like could be successful?
In this game, yes, it would be the way to go, and I talk about that a little bit in. Oops, let me get the article here. So I usually just do a little strategy section in the article. This is something I started doing this season to help people out. So let's put that in chat just so you guys can see it. But basically, what I've done is I say who do I think, if I'm going to build 1 to 3 lineups, who are the core guys that I really want, and I say here are the 2 to 3 guys. So what I said on FanDuel, where'd it go? There it is. So on FanDuel, I said you want to go with Mahomes, Brissett, and then either Chester Rogers or Naheem Hines if Marlon Mack or T.Y. Hilton are out. Well, those guys aren't out. I'm still staying with Hines in that one. And then I said, if you don't want to do that, then you can go to Jack Doyle or Eric Ebron. And those would be the 3 guys you're getting. I don't see a reason to not have Mahomes in the captain spot for the bonus scoring, unless it's going to be Kelsey, and you hope that Kelsey has a 2 touchdown game and Mahomes just throws 2 touchdowns and they both go to Kelsey and he's the top raw point scorer of the night. Otherwise, it seems crazy to not have Hines or pardon me, Mahomes in your lineup. But if you look at DraftKings, I said your core should be Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hines. And then I was able, as I mentioned earlier, to get in Brissett because I thought, God, I really need to have him. But I'm also having Mo Alley Cox again, which is a 0. So I'm willing to take Brissett plus Mo Alley Cox's 0 and say that score has a better chance of outscoring any 2 other players I can put in for those same dollars. So that I do feel strongly about Brissett tonight because I just don't really see a world where they're not trailing by a score or 2 most of the game, if not more.
Yeah, that's the again. We all probably think it's the likely outcome. Colts are receiving I think it's 11 points for tonight's game last time I checked, and 56 is the over/under. So expecting a lot of points to be scored. I mean, a lot of scores for both teams. Definitely a lot projected for Kansas City. Trying to figure out that balance. Is there any way that you're playing if you do see a situation where Kansas City gets ahead early? Any situation where you're playing both LaShawn McCoy and Williams, for both running backs for Kansas City?
I don't think it's a problem to do that because they, again, as I mentioned, they don't really overlap or take away from each other. Neither one is going to be the lead guy. Neither one is going to be that bell cow status, which, what are they like? Well, unless you're Christian McCaffrey, and then you're the whole freaking herd at this point. But you're not going to be. That was a funny one. Come on, a little chuckle there. But you've got a situation where I think they're both going to get their work. It's whoever lucks into the touchdowns. And for me, I think it's going to be McCoy. But I would have no problem if they were on the same lineup. I didn't set any rules to say I don't want them on the same lineup. I did set a rule that said I don't want Ebron and Doyle on the same lineup. I only want one of the 3 tertiary receivers for the Colts, etc. So I've got a bunch of different rules in there, but I didn't set anything to separate the running backs because to me they're not on the field together enough to make it be a worry. Or it's not binary, I guess. It's not an either or. They could both see their normal workload.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see tonight, and I think it'll be a big teller for things to come in the future for the Kansas City Chiefs is who gets the majority of the timeshare. And as I mentioned, the goal line carries is something to pay close attention to, and something to project out as you're putting your lineups together for tonight. A few more minutes here as we kind of wind things down. A couple of questions that were floating in here. Hilton or Brissett tonight is a question that I find interesting. Ty has been, maybe arguably the most consistent player for the Colts over the last few years. It seems like no matter who is that QB, he seems to put up numbers. Is there any situation where would you value Ty over Brissett in a matchup tonight? I know it seems like an interesting question, but PPR in DraftKings, so maybe that's where you keep that in mind more, but.
If you think he's fully healthy, then yes. I could see Ty above Brissett, and that would be a DraftKings play for the full PPR.
Yep.
On FanDuel, I'd still rather go with Brissett. Now, if you start to look at and we've got the popularity ratings for all these guys, and by the time they hear this is going to be. We're going to be at lock, but let's just kind of call that out. So Brissett is, and this is just I just happen to have DK up. So Brissett is 37%, and Hilton looks like he is going to be 38%. So there's no difference there. That's what I would say too close to call. So this would be a nice spot where if you wanted to make your stand, you could have them. The issue that they're probably about the same is a lot of people will put both of them in the same lineup. Yeah, they'll probably have to forego Kelsey at that point or Mahomes, but they'll look for that sort of synergistic play.
It'll be interesting to see where that lands tonight. A couple more minutes here until lock.
Is it 8:20 or is it 8:15? I always forget. Oh,
I
it's
think it's
8:20 tonight. Sorry.
8:20. Yeah, no
I sh-
problem. We got a few minutes left. I just threw in a lineup while we are sitting here chatting, and as I was thinking about, potential outcomes for tonight. While we do like Brissett, I threw a lineup in where I put Kansas City's defense in the captain spot, and it allowed me to, invest a lot of money elsewhere. Who knows? While I don't love Kansas City's defense in general, it seems like a different play, and it seems like, hey, there's a chance that the Colts could struggle. They got some banged up, skilled players, so it was a risk that I just took, and again, allowed me to invest quite a bit elsewhere.
All right, I'm making more lineups because I can. Since there's 5 more minutes, look at that.
Since we got a couple minutes, we got Al Michaels on the screen here. So, EMAC, if you had to pick a Kansas City wideout tonight, is it Watkins? Is it Robinson? Is it Hardman? Who finds the end zone?
I'm gonna go with Mecole.
Okay. All right. I like Robinson tonight.
I think I think in all honesty, he's probably got the safer floor. He's not hurt like Watkins is, and he's also going to be on the field more and get more targets than Hardman. He's just not as fast.
Yeah. Both seem to have the ability to get behind the defense. Nobody has the same ability that Mecole does, but Kansas City, a lot of fast players out there, and it seems like if I'm a defensive back, I don't know who I'm most worried about. It seems like everyone, and just keep it in front. So interesting to see where the target share goes tonight. We know Kelsey will probably get his. Yeah, but I'm on Robinson tonight. We shall see. All right, last minute or two before we get down. Is there any world in which you see both tight ends for the Colts being in a lineup? I think it's going to be one or the other, but because they don't really have a great number 2 wideout, is there any lineups that you threw both tight ends in?
I set a rule against it, but I don't. I think it's just. I don't think they really are going to cannibalize each other. I just don't see both of them getting a touchdown tonight. One of them probably will. I don't know which one it is. So I was just trying to say I want one or the other, not 2 guys sharing 1 touchdown. So it was just a little bit of a different approach for me there.
Makes sense. All right, last couple minutes here. Feel free to throw in if you got any last minute questions. I think we're about at lock, EMAC. We're getting there. Well, as we wrap up here for this evening, EMAC, any kind of closing thoughts?
Be smart. Be ready to wave goodbye to all of this money that you're putting out there. Be happy if any of it comes back. I've said that before, but the weird stuff happens. This is the NFL. We would like to think we can project things and figure stuff out. We can over a longer time horizon. In one day, though, the ball bounces funny, as they say. So just be smart. And we have another game tomorrow.
We do. It's an exciting matchup tonight. Tomorrow night, EMAC. Who's hosting tomorrow night's show?
It will be me and Nolan Kelly.
Okay. And the matchup for tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken, is Cleveland going on the road to San Francisco.
Yes. I'm trying to remember. Is it in Cleveland or is it in San Francisco?
In San Francisco at the 49ers. We're interested to see Cleveland travel in time zones. 49ers are a tough team coming off of a bye, so they're well rested. Should be an interesting matchup tomorrow night. Cleveland finally got right last week, so we'll be watching. Should be a good matchup tomorrow night.
And that game kicks off at 8:15.
There you go. That's right.
Oh, good times. Hey, if you're a Nationals fan, Juan Soto, kid's pretty good. He has a home run tonight off Hinyan Ryu, lefty. Nationals up 2-0 in the top of the second.
Wow. Well, I think we were wrapping up. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. to Live Before Locks. Again, join us again, after this for the next show. And for tomorrow night's matchup, we'll see EMAC chanting about the 49ers hosting the Browns.
All right, gamers, reminder, you get on over there to Fantasy Draft, the only rake-free site out there. They had a $500,000 contest. Sadly, Adam Ship My Money did not win this week, but he did take down $100,000 last week. So shout out to him. Who knew? Who knew? We're going to have to get him analyzing some NFL for us. With that, gamers, we're going to dip on out of here. Good luck.
Good luck. Have a good night. Thanks.